Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you to ICD for giving this opportunity. Thank you for Cinema for Peace. So as before said, I'm the last speaker for the conference, and I often think like the last speaker has like the most amount of responsibility, keeping the audience awake and not making it too difficult. I will try not to do that. And so we've had like many ways, like we've had this conference and we've had like different people saying different ways of dealing with migration, different ways of solving the migration crisis. And my job is to say, no, film is the way. Like my job is to convince you in like 20 minutes that film is the way to change and like solving the crisis. Let's see how well I do in that. Let's begin with a question. How many of you guys watch one movie or at least one episode of a season per month? How many of you guys? Oh, cool. That's great. It's going great so far. Yeah. So, how many guys like read a book a month? I don't actually. Like, I don't know why I don't know. Just came up. But it's more than I expected. I didn't think so many people actually read a book a month. That's great. So let me give you like a introduction. Like so my speech would be like the power of films, and then I'll talk about the power of films and certain examples of how films make like social changes, and then I will talk a bit about the foundation I'm working with right now, which is Cinema for Peace Foundation. So the first thing would be like the power of films. If you see in the slide, you see like a huge screen and a huge number of audience in front of it, like looking at the screen. So this is like a visual representation I found for Quentin Tarantino, one of the biggest, like one of the best directors that we have today. He explained in an interview when he was asked what is his best argument about the power of films, and he said it like this: when you go into a cinema like this, and you see the sound, the lights, it's all darkness, and the light comes from the screen, and you have the visuals, you have the audio, and all of them work together in symphony and create this environment, and you just forget to breathe, and you just get transported into a different place. You live the life of the actors in the film, and you go through them. And this is the biggest power of film, he said. It is to experience the film. We talk about like there are different ways to convey certain messages to audiences. There are like books, there is discussion forums, there are like debates, there are speeches like we are doing right now, and those connect to people on a literal or on an academic level, or on a level where you can like converse. But I think movies connect people on a human level, where you like see another person, you see human emotions on the screen, like happiness, like pain that you see in the film, and then you get transported into a different place. I think I agree with him. I think this is the biggest power that film has, and this is why film is one of the biggest way. It's the ultimate attention technology that we can see in the world today. When you watch a film, you get transported into a different place. You don't remember that you are like in a huge room with so many people and just watching a movie. You just connect with the people on the screen. So just to give you a fact on how this actually works out, America went with having an overwhelming majority of people who are against same-sex marriages, from having an overwhelming majority of people who are for same-sex marriages. And this might be because of political campaigns. This might be about because of books and academics written about it. But it's also about will and grace. It's also about modern family, where you can where you can actually see two people living the life just like you, having a kid just like you would. I don't have, but still, just like normal person would, and having father and mother, like seeing a family, and seeing two couples, both men, inside the family. I think that's where people actually connect to those films. And this can be seen in like almost all kinds of films. Like I've just taken some examples from sitcoms because that's the most relevant you can see. Um, um, Also, if you see like in Friends, how many of you guys have watched Friends? Great, cool, awesome. If you haven't, you should. Okay, so if you see Friends, like you can see how Phoebe offers to, give birth to her brothers and his wife's kids, and these are certain. This is how films also deals with certain taboos, and like to normalize those taboos and to say, hey, like you're just like Phoebe, you are just another, one of us. So you can also see in the case of Ross and Friends where, when he gets divorced, inside what you can see to be a museum in front of cavemen. And also, it is also a message that even after a divorce, you can be a divorcee, and even after a divorce, you can get married and find the love of your life, and also divorce again and get married again and again. So these are certain examples how films can connect with you, and like these are how films try to like normalize taboos and to address certain sensitive questions to the people on a very human level. I think migration crisis has a lot. Like it's one of these sensitive subjects that cannot be spoken just like that. To understand what a refugee feels like, you cannot really read a book and really, I don't think you can actually understand how a refugee feels like. I don't think you can actually understand how a refugee feels like unless you are a refugee, but still, you can connect with them through visuals like movies, which I hope you will in the movie that is coming after my speech. So I think the migration crisis is basically about conflict. So the whole idea that the reason why we have migration, the refugees coming in, is because there is conflict in certain regions or because of climate change. It's some kind of problem. And the reason we have a conflict inside Europe because of migrants is because of conflict between different cultures. I think the only way this conflict can be addressed is through movies. Not the only way, not being too adamant about that, but it is the best way. So one of the examples is for example, like bigotry or intolerance towards another culture. It's not a result of ignorance. It's not because you don't know about that person. It's not because you don't know about migration crisis. It's because of fear. It's a result of fear. As one of famous academicians in the U.S. said, Reza Aslan, bigotry is not a result of ignorance. It's a result of fear, and fear is impervious to data. You cannot convince someone not to be scared by giving them data or information. The only way to dissipate that fear is by getting to know someone that you actually are scared of. And this happens in movies when you see people like people having same-sex marriages, like the example that I gave before, on the film, living the life just like you, and you get to know that person, although it's a fictional character. And when you get to know that person, you see someone just like that in the real life, you'll be like, hey, that's just like Will and Grace, or like that's just like this person, this dude from Modern Family. And that's how you kind of like normalize it. And that's what I think the role of film is, to depict refugees and to depict such people who go through these traumas in the movie, and so that you will be able to connect them when you see them in the real life. And there's numerous examples of how movies actually connect to people. Like, for example, one of the examples is like The Danish Girl, where you can see like the first person to have sex surgery, like to alter the sex to become a man from being a woman. That can be seen in the movie The Danish Girl. You can see how the director and the makers of the movie try to portray certain things like fear, like pain, where another person, another human being, I might not understand what a transgender person goes through, but I can understand what pain feels like, and that's how we connect through the movies. If I give you just like certain catchphrases like Hakuna Matata, there might be some people in the audience who actually knows what it means, although I might not have met that person in my life. Or it's something like "You know nothing, Jon Snow," or something like "Hasta la vista, baby." Like you just know what the other person means, and this is how film lives inside of you. And this is where Cinema for Peace comes in. The mission of Cinema for Peace is to try and promote these films that talk about peace, basically, so if you didn't understand from the term. So the mission is to try and encourage directors to make movies about these subjects, and also to give them recognition, hold movie screenings free of cost for the audience, and also have a panel talk about the discussion, so you can invoke certain dialogues in the society about the issue that is discussed in here. And then we have like different kinds of projects in Cinema for Peace Foundation. We have the Cinema for Peace Gala, which happens every year, and we have certain really eminent people, popular figures coming. Like, for example, Leonardo DiCaprio, who is a dear friend of our founder. And we have galas where we honor such movies that promote these dialogues. And we to brief it up, I'm not gonna go through all the projects that we are dealing with, which would be like a long task. But I will focus on certain things. Like, for example, partner screenings. We partner with organizations worldwide. Right now we have like partners and partner screenings happening in Israel, Palestine. We have partner screenings happening in Korea. We have partner screenings happening in Pakistan, India, and in Brazil, Barcelona, UK, US, and so on. So that's another one. And one interesting thing with the Cinema for Peace, the project that I'm working on right now, is the wall screening. So I'll just tell you a bit about what a wall screening means. As you can see in the picture, that is the wall that is dividing Israel and Palestine. And the wall screening, the idea is to project a film on the separation wall between Israel and Palestine, not just Israel and Palestine. So any other walls, if there is. Right now we are focusing more on Israel, Palestine. I've heard like some other leaders have planned to, build up walls around their countries in the future. We are looking forward so we can hold more wall screenings. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. What I meant was we aren't looking forward for wall screenings. So this is one of the projects. So we haven't fixed a date for it right now, but this is surely happening in August. We are going to screen the film Disturbing the Peace, which is directed by the director called Stephen Apkin. And the movie talks about this organization called Combatants for Peace, which basically is ex-fighters from both the sides of Palestine and Israel coming together to build up peace in the region. It's an amazing organization. And that's one of our projects. And then we partner with different artists and other eminent figures to create art and other forms other than cinema as well, because they speak very loudly as well. Yeah, you can see an example of it is an artwork by the artist Ai Weiwei. You can see life jackets of real refugees um, put around the pillars of the concert house in Berlin. It is a significant. It's called a safe passage. It's a symbolic representation of the refugee crisis, which Ai Weiwei did in partnership with Cinema of Peace Foundation. And all these works, I think, to give you my personal opinion, and also an opinion that an idea that I've learned from this organization, to give you like an insight on into this migration crisis, our opinion on that. I think it's much more important. It is important to give refugees a good welcome, to get them integrated into this society, so that there will not be much conflicts between the people and the new people who are coming in. But it is just as much important to solve the problem of conflicts that is happening within these people, within these countries. If you see that, if you think the migration crisis that we have today is the biggest crisis that we are facing, then I think we're mistaken. The bigger migration crisis, or the refugee crisis, is going to come when the climate change happens, when climate change progresses more, and then you see a huge number of refugees coming from Africa and from the East, from the Asia, into other parts where there is no results, when there is less effects of climate change. That's when we will really feel the climate change, with the refugee crisis. I think the only way to stop this is to stop the conflict in those regions, or take actions to reduce climate change and other causes that create refugees in the first place. And that is what our organization is working on right now. We are supporting documentary films and other forms of activities that try to reduce the conflict in those regions, to tell a story from a different way, to make people understand, to make people understand the other side of the story, and to come in compromise with each other. That's what we are aiming for. And the aim is not to integrate. I think the aim should not be to integrate, just to integrate refugees into the society. It should also be to get rid of certain elements that is causing refugees in the first place. Thank you so much. And I hope everyone stays for the movie, and I hope everyone enjoys the movie. And if you have some questions, suggestions, I might not be an expert to give you answers about it, but still, if you have some something to add on to my speech, or if you have some questions about the organization, please be welcomed to. Thank you so much. Okay, cool.
Maybe after the movie.
Awesome.
Okay, so
That's a good idea. Yes, please.
maybe one question. Do you also work with Film Aid in Kenya?
We have a project with Film Aid in Kenya. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think it is finished. It's closed. But we have a screening of the movie Temba, which is one of the movies that Cinema of Peace produced. It's a movie about this young African boy who becomes a football star. It's like a coming of age kind of movie. And we have some. If you go to our websites, cinemaforpeace-foundation.org, we have two websites. We have an old one, which you might see. Like the new one is with the extension .org. And if you go into that, you can see our current films and our current partnerships and the works we are doing right now.
Sorry,
Yeah, sure.
do you also, or have you gone to, for example, the emergency shelters, or still the camps, and projected films like as seen?
Yes.
Have you done that there?
Not in Germany, I guess.
Do you
I
think that's a good idea?
It is a great idea, but that would come under the screening, our project called refugee screening. But we do not show movies about refugees to refugees. That would not be. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course. Yeah, but what? Yeah.
Something like just an animation for
Yes.
kids, like anything.
Yes.
It's just something because it's really nice
Yeah.
to have. They do that in filming, right?
Yes.
They go to the camps and they show films, not necessarily about their own.
Yes. Yes.
experience,
Of course.
But something that could just about the imagination that could take them some. That does the same. Why
Yeah.
do we see it? Because we want to be entertained. Most
Yes.
of the time. You
Yes.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not necessarily entertained.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that would be just so good, right? Because
Yeah.
I think a lot of these places, even though a lot of course, the shelters have been shut down,
Mhm.
they still exist.
Yes.
And I think one of the things is just, I mean, that's also a sense of community building.
Yes.
Or
Definitely.
even when you have like local German people also come and be able to watch the films with them.
Mhm.
I mean, it's also like a way of interacting.
Yes.
And I don't know.
Yeah, it's a wonderful idea actually. Yeah, we do this refugee screening where we show movies like animation, just like you mentioned. I think it's just like what they do in Film Aid. We show like animation movies or silent films just to give an escape into a different world. And yeah, we do that with, especially we do sometimes with refugee children, and sometimes just with in the shelter camps as well.
But that's outside of Germany.
That most of our screenings are outside of Germany. Some of them are, but I think refugee screenings, most of them are outside of Germany. Yes. Yes, please.
So you're working on the Palestine-Israel project?
Yes.
Have you experienced any problems with the, given the last few months of the situation with
Yeah.
Gaza? Have you experienced any problems there that come from society that they didn't want
Mm-hmm.
some of these?
Yes. Do we have some time? Yeah.
Like 1 minute.
Okay. Yeah. Like I'll just wind it up. Yeah. So we are doing this in partnership with this organization, Combatants for Peace, which the movie talks about, and we have been talking with them for like past 1 month, and they like first we could not have a proper communication, also because there has been certain settlements that's happening at the border, and they were busy working there. And when I spoke to the person at ground, they said that sometimes there are problems from both the sides of the Palestinians and the Israelis when you see Israelites and Palestinians coming together and watching a movie. This also serves like the idea that you mentioned, when two types of people who are like on opposite sides sit together to watch a movie, you develop some kind of friendship or community within them. And this is discouraged by certain elements on both the Palestinian and the Israelite sides. Guys,
Okay.
I hope
so
that'll be
thank
it.
you very much.
thank you very much, and thank you, Chelsea. Yeah.